You remember the classic line, "What's the deal with airplane peanuts?" Well, the more I think about it, I can't remember the last time I got peanuts on an airplane. Over the years, it seems though I get things like pretzels, crackers, and other snackable goods, but never peanuts. Wonder why that is though. Maybe they got rid of them because they kept getting flack for the quality of these things, or they got sick and tired of people constantly quoting the legendary line every time somebody got a hand on a pouch of this stuff, so I don't know. Either way, it makes sense. Hello everyone, Mr. Daydream here, and welcome to Chainsauce Extra. Now, as somebody who lives in the United States, every now and then I like to visit Denmark. It's a very beautiful country. Lots of forests and beaches, historical structures and smørrebrød, and it's entirely fueled by Faxe Kondi. Now obviously Denmark is quite far from the United States, so in order to get to Denmark, I'd need to board a plane for that kind of travel, and one thing's for sure, when you're in economy class, it makes the trip even more grueling. Lack of elbow room and leg space, the fact that you're sitting down for the entirety of the flight, as well as having that one idiot who keeps leaving the window open and exposing bright sunlight while the room is still dim. Needless to say, it's not a pleasant experience. What's worse is that the longer the flight is, the more likely you are to feel horrible mentally and or physically, whether it's due to lack of sleep, cramped seating, or that one mother who doesn't do anything to stop her child from screaming and crying because she wants to ensure that her kid grows up to become a disappointing failure just like her. So I saw this one video that seems to understand that long air travel tends to take a big heavy toll on the human body and soul. So they ran this test on whether or not it is possible to endure the longest flight in the world by feasible means. So for this experiment, Qantas has a flight from New York to Sydney. It's around 19 hours long. They have 50 passengers on board, and they all have these fancy devices and all kinds of testing in order to determine how a flight this long affects the human body. So you might be thinking, that sounds really interesting. I sure do wonder how a flight like this can affect someone like me. So how can you possibly go wrong with this? Well, there's one fatal flaw. All the passengers are in business class. Yeah, this means that they get to have some of the best seating and treatment compared to what most people end up getting on flights like this. And that's where this study fails. What they don't seem to understand is that not everyone boarding a flight has access to a mattress for a seat that can also fold into a bed. If my seat could do that, my flight is infinitely better. I don't know about you, but I simply cannot sleep sitting down. I just can't. The longest I've ever slept on a position like that was 20 minutes. This guy gets to sleep for a whole 8 hours during this experiment.
I just slept for more than 8 hours, which is the best I've ever slept on a plane.
That seems like it goes completely against everything this test stands for, because now his 19-hour flight has been greatly reduced. It's now an 11-hour flight instead. What the heck? He flat out cheated. Just like everyone else in this luxurious hotel of an air travel. Yes, I get it. He was technically on the flight for a whole 19 hours. But not mentally. I really want them to try this experiment again. Only this time, they're all cramped in economy class. Yeah, they will without a doubt get vastly different results than what they got in business class. They might even have to provide some body bags afterwards. But the worst part is, this isn't even what business class is like. I mean, it's not often you get the opportunity to walk around a mostly empty plane and do stretches and various forms of exercise. This is just so dumb. Obviously, if you were to give passengers a proper way to sleep, then any flight, no matter how long, is better for your health as well as your sanity. This experiment is the equivalent of a math teacher giving you a test on multiplication. while letting you use a calculator.
But is bringing a flight like this to regular service possible? And would customers even want to be in the air that long without a break?
They're co-naming it the really stupid experiment.
This is, without a doubt, a test made for the 1%. It's not whether or not a 19-hour flight is tolerable for us, but whether it's tolerable for them and them only. I don't care about those filthy plebes. I only care what's best for me, so I can be ready for the truffle caviar wine party as soon as I arrive. Oh. They better not use this as a credible source in advertisements for this kind of flight. People would go nuts hours in when they realized that this study did not go as promised when they're sitting down the entire time and being cramped between a fat guy and a mother with a demon for an offspring. What really infuriates me about this experiment is how much these passengers get pampered throughout the entire flight. It really feels like the whole thing is rigged in order to achieve the best possible results. This isn't a challenge. This is a treatment. You're telling me that I can sleep as much as I want on a mattress chair that folds into a bed, watch movies, eat luxurious meals, freely walk around mostly empty cabins, stretch, exercise, and do the Macarena? Sign me up!
20 hours in the air wasn't as hard on my body as I thought it would be, but I really think getting up and moving, eating the right food, and sleeping on Sydney time is what made the flight easier.
It's almost as if being treated as kings instead of cattle has a tremendous impact on my well-being. Who would have known? This is just so stupid. This is like if in hurdling they ran a test that involves removing all the hurdles away from the track, and then proudly prove that this makes the race much easier. Like, no duh, moron. The only thing this experiment has proven is that a 19-hour flight can be endured, but only if you're in business class. If you're in economy class, you're probably gonna die. Honestly, the biggest experiment they should have done was how this affects the health of the pilots. You know, the ones who are making this 19-hour flight possible in the first place. They're the reigning champions in this test, not the pampered weaklings who have it far too easy. It really feels like that the person who ran this experiment has never once in their life been seated in an economy class. Or an actual plane. I will say this though, it is impressive how this aircraft can remain airborne for almost 20 hours. What an incredible beast of a machine. It's certainly more intriguing than whatever those business class hacks are doing. I do have to mention that the reason there's only 50 passengers on this flight is because it's not possible for this plane to make it to the destination with a full payload. So that's why they had a low passenger limit. That makes sense, I guess, but it doesn't work for an experiment that's about testing your health. Obviously, if there are far less people in a certain area, you're bound to feel much more comfortable and relaxed. It's kind of like going to a public restroom and you're the only one there. There's something oddly satisfying about having a large enclosed area all to yourself, even if it may contain some questionable smells. But if there's going to be a point in the future where it is possible for a plane to travel non-stop for roughly 20 hours with a full payload this time, then the experience will no longer be the same compared to the one they got from this. So in other words, this test won't stand the test of time. See what I did there? What I really don't get about this experiment is, why focus exclusively on a single class? Shouldn't they try all three of them? You're not going to get credible results if you stick with just one. We can already tell that an economy class for a flight like this is not going to look pretty. And as for first class, I don't know, maybe it's heaven itself or something. Thing is though, they actually do encourage passengers to rotate around the cabins in order to balance out the weight of the plane. But seriously, who would want to give up their bed of a chair for an outhouse toilet seat?
So I tried out the coach cabin, but obviously I preferred my business class seat.
Why am I not surprised? Hey, would you like to get this big juicy steak with onions and fried potatoes? Or would you rather have some leftover clam chowder that's been sitting on the kitchen counter for the past 3 days? Such tantalizing options! I think we can all agree that when it comes to air travel that are this long, the only class we have to be concerned for is economy. Because, simply put, economy class sucks. I mean, it's not too bad if the flight is only a couple of hours or so, but if it's at least 10, That's the toughest endurance that challenges even the strongest men. If they truly care about improving the mental and physical health for passengers, then they need to focus purely on economy class, because they're the ones who have the absolute worst on gruelingly long flights. Forget about business class or first class. Whatever minor inconveniences they might experience is nothing compared to what we have to endure. Oh well, I guess it could be worse. We could end up getting those inhumane stand-up seats. So that's it for now. Overall, I can kinda see what they were trying to go for with this experiment, but the sheer sugarcoating they've prepped for this thing has obliterated whatever credibility it initially had. Now, if it was just about how this only affects those in business class, I'd be more forgiving, but the fact that it tries to pass off as to how this affects the general audience is plain ignorant and reeks of favoritism. We're all in this flight together. Not everything has to be about you, you know. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Chainsauce Extra. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. And more rant videos are on the way, so don't you worry about that. As well as other fun surprises and all that good stuff. So yeah, take care and have a nice day. Oh my goodness. This looks so stupid. It looks even stupider than I thought. Oh my goodness. Yeah.